The laughter started the second she walked into the gun store. "Hey lady, the coffee shop's across the street," one clerk sneered. Another customer piled on, grinning as if it were the cleverest insult in the world. "Canvas bag, clueless face. You must think this place is a thrift store." Rachel didn't flinch. She didn't argue. She didn't even blink. She just tapped her finger lightly against the glass counter and spoke 5 words that froze the entire room. "Show me the MRAI Ghost Edition." The air went still. Conversations cut short. A name no civilian should ever know had just fallen from her lips. That weapon was spoken of only in classified halls, locked in the memory of Ghost Viper veterans. The crowd that had mocked her suddenly leaned closer, trying to process who this woman really was. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't trying to prove herself. She was just calm, too calm. And that calmness was about to flip the entire shop upside down. What could an ordinary-looking woman possibly know about a weapon so secret that even hardened soldiers whispered about it? Before we continue, if you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever walked into a room and felt the weight of mockery before you even opened your mouth, this story is for you. Subscribe now to BR Veteran Stories so you never miss the legends hidden in plain sight. The mocking didn't stop. A wiry clerk leaned forward, smirking as if he'd won something. "You lost sweetheart yoga classes next door. This place sells heavy metal." A man in a backwards cap whistled, folding his arms like he owned the store. "Thought this was a thrift shop, huh?" Laughter swelled around her. Even a woman with a fake pistol joined in, waving it around like it was a fashion accessory. "You've wandered into a man's arena," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Rachel walked on silent. She didn't try to defend herself. She didn't offer a single word. Her eyes swept across the rifles in their glass cases, as if she'd been here 100 times before. A leather-vested brute with tattoos of skulls and flames blocked her path. His voice carried above the crowd. "Hey, Missy, you're in the way of the real customers," he sneered, nodding at her bag. "What's in there?" "Knitting supplies." The roar of laughter rose again. They clapped, pointed, and jeered as if it were a stage show. But Rachel didn't give them a reaction. She stepped aside, moved past him, and laid her hand gently on the glass case. The room's energy shifted. Some chuckled, but unease began to creep in. Something about her silence, her steady eyes, the way she carried herself, it didn't match their expectations. The clerk, desperate to keep the upper hand, called out again. "What do you want? Lady, something shiny for Instagram." Rachel's voice finally came quiet but clear. "Show me the custom MRAI Ghost Edition, the unreleased version." The effect was instant. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. One man actually choked on his drink. A woman lowered her fake pistol, eyes widening. Even an older veteran in the corner stiffened. His voice rasped, slow and gravelly. "I saw one of those in the Eastern Zone 8 years ago. Never forgot it." The crowd stared at her differently now. This was no ordinary woman. The manager finally stepped out from the back, a stocky man with a face carved into a permanent scowl. Without a word, he unlocked the vault and placed the weapon on the counter. Matte black, sleek, a scope sharp enough to cut through fog. No one in the room had ever seen it out on display. Before Rachel could even touch it, a teenager with a buzzed head and a vape pen dangling from his mouth shoved his way forward. "No way she even knows what that is. Look at those sneakers. Bet she can't even afford the cleaning kit." His friends howled, slapping his back like he'd won the argument. Rachel tilted her head, her lips curving into the faintest suggestion of a smile, cold, unreadable. The laughter caught in the boy's throat. Chad, the clerk, tried to cover the unease with bluster. "Fine, you know the name, but can you even hold it? That thing weighs over 10 kilos. The man in the backwards cap picked up another rifle, tossed it toward her like a football. "Careful, lady. Don't snap your wrist." She caught it in one hand. Smooth. Effortless. The rifle didn't wobble, didn't dip. She held it steady like it weighed nothing at all. The room went silent. Chad forced a laugh. "Okay, fine. Let's see you disassemble it. Bet you don't even know how." Rachel's hands moved with frightening precision. Pins, screws, barrel, everything laid out in seconds. 8 seconds to strip the weapon bare. A perfect puzzle solved before their eyes. The crowd froze. Their laughter had nowhere left to go. One man tried to break the tension. He leaned in, clapping, slowly, each clap, sharp and mocking. Cute trick. Probably just a YouTube tutorial last night, right? Rachel ignored him. She reassembled the weapon piece by piece, steady, methodical, faster than anyone in that room had ever seen. Then she paused, pulled a simple paper clip from her bag, pressed it against the receiver. Her voice, calm and soft, cut through the silence. This bolt is off by 0.3 millimeters. In sub-zero conditions, it veers off target. The mercenary in the corner, scarred knuckles, gripping his own rifle, muttered hoarsely. How the hell would she know that Rachel finally looked up, her gaze steady? Because I used it. Sunlit peak. Moving target. Level 7 wind. The words dropped like a grenade. The room froze. Everyone knew no civilian could ever know that. The manager seized the moment, his voice loud, trying to pull back control of the room. Fine. Let's put it to the test. There's a coin out there on the range. 150 meters. Nobody's ever hit it. The crowd erupted in whispers, some scoffing, others suddenly unsure. The man in the backwards cap shouted, trying to mask his own unease. If she hits it, I'll mop this place with my tongue. They laughed, but the laughter was thinner now, nervous around the edges. Rachel picked up the rifle with no hesitation. Her sneakers brushed across gravel as she walked outside, the weight of the crowd following her every step. Men shouted taunts to cover their fear. Don't trip, sweetheart, that rifle's bigger than you are. But even as they jeered, their voices cracked. Something about the way she carried the weapon drained the humor from their words. At the firing line, she planted her feet. No adjustments, no practice swing, just a calm stillness that made the air feel like the moment before lightning strikes. She lifted the rifle, aimed for 2 seconds, and fired. The crack of the shot split the air. The coin split in half. It spun and clattered to the ground in pieces. Silence swallowed the range. Not the respectful kind, something heavier. A silence that felt like the entire world holding its breath. Chad's clipboard fell from his hand. The woman with the fake pistol dropped it on the counter, her fingers trembling. Even the mercenary gripped his weapon tighter, staring at Rachel as if a ghost had walked out of legend. Rachel lowered the rifle, set it back exactly where it had been before, and walked away as if nothing extraordinary had happened. The silence still hung when a young woman in a pink hoodie stepped forward, her phone lifted high. One shot doesn't mean anything, she said loudly, her voice shrill. Do it again. Probably just luck. Rachel didn't even look at her. She reached into her backpack, pulled out a worn cloth, and slowly wiped her hands. The stain on the fabric, faint, dark, and permanent, spoke louder than any answer. The girl's smirk faltered, her phone dipping. The gunsmith, who had stayed silent until now, edged closer, his eyes fixed on Rachel's hands. His voice trembled with awe. Someone once tuned a rifle like that. Ghost Viper outpost. Same grip, same care. His gaze shifted to the faint scar across her knuckles, shaped like an arrow. His words fell heavy into the silence. She's ghost number 17. The mercenary's jaw clenched. He knew the name. Everyone in that room did. Ghost operatives weren't legends. They were whispers spoken only in circles that had seen blood and classified files. Rachel's calm voice broke the tension. I came here for peace, but if needed, I can still shoot with precision from 400 meters. It wasn't a threat. It was fact. Delivered so quietly it shook the room harder than any shout. The backwards cap guy stepped back, his energy drink slipping from his hand, splashing across the floor. The woman with the fake pistol turned away, her bravado draining out of her face. The crowd that had laughed minutes ago now shifted nervously, as if realizing they had mocked a ghost out of legend. The truth of who she was had finally cracked through the sneers and the arrogance, and now no one dared laugh. The tension inside the shop had reached its breaking point. Chad tried to reclaim control, his voice too loud, too desperate. Hold on, you can't just touch that rifle without ID. Where's your papers? You think you can just stroll in here? Rachel reached into her backpack and pulled out a card. Worn, faded, almost blank. No photo, no name, just an emblem in a string of numbers etched into the plastic. Chad laughed harshly, holding it up for everyone to see. What's this, a library card? But before Rachel could respond, the door swung open. A man in a black suit and dark glasses stepped inside. His very presence shifted the air like a storm rolling in. His movements were sharp, precise, the kind that belonged to someone who'd lived in shadows. He walked straight past the stunned crowd and stopped in front of Rachel. Then, leaning close, he whispered, "Confirmation code 870. Your next mission begins tonight." And then he did something no one in that room expected. He placed his hand to his chest, bowing his head ever so slightly. The gesture was subtle, but those who knew recognized it instantly. The Ghost Viper salute. The gunsmith's mouth fell open. The mercenary stiffened like he'd seen a ghost. The clipboard in Chad's trembling hands clattered to the floor. The commander, because that's who he was, had just saluted her. The room that had mocked her now stood frozen, the weight of that gesture crashing over them like thunder. Rachel didn't say a word. She simply adjusted the strap of her backpack, her face calm as ever, and turned toward the door. Rachel left with the commander, the black SUV sliding quietly into the dusk. Inside the gun shop, no one moved. It was as if her presence still lingered in the air, pressing down on them. Chad, the clerk who mocked her first, was the first to feel the consequences. Later that evening, his phone rang. It was the owner of the store. The conversation was short, brutal, and final. He was fired. Effective immediately. There was no argument, no second chance. He packed up his things with trembling hands, his once smug goatee, now nothing more than a reminder of arrogance gone wrong. The man in the backwards cap tried to play it off. He uploaded the whole encounter to his social media thinking it would make him famous. He captioned it with a mocking line about the thrift store girl. By morning, the video had gone viral, but not in the way he had hoped. The comments shredded him apart. Thousands of strangers called out his cruelty and ignorance. His sponsors, big-name gear companies that once flaunted his face, dropped him by noon with a single cutting statement, "Conduct unbecoming." His inbox flooded with hate, his follower count plummeted. He deleted the video, but it was too late. The internet never forgets. The woman with the fake pistol thought she could laugh it off in her circle of socialites. At brunch, she retold the story, smirking as if it were an amusing anecdote. But her friends didn't laugh. They had all seen the viral clip. Invitations dried up. Her circle, built on appearances and status, quietly erased her name. She was left refreshing her feeds, waiting for a message that never came. The mercenary who had recognized Rachel for what she was sat alone at a bar that night. His voice was low, almost reverent when he finally spoke to the bartender. "I saw a woman like her once. Back when I was in the field. You don't forget a shot like that." He didn't say her name. He didn't need to. He finished his drink and disappeared into the night. The gunsmith returned to his workbench in silence. He recalibrated every MRAI rifle in stock, checking for the flaw Rachel had spotted. 3 had the same problem. She had been right down to the millimeter. He fixed them quietly, his hands steady, but his mind kept replaying her voice, her grip, that scar on her knuckles. He tucked her worn ID card in a drawer, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of the day a ghost walked in and proved everyone wrong. The manager didn't escape untouched either. The next morning, a government liaison visited him. No words, just a file placed on his desk. He didn't open it. He didn't have to. He knew it was about her. He spent the rest of the day in his office with the door closed, the phone off the hook. The shop was quieter after that. The bravado, the chest-thumping atmosphere, it was gone. Replaced by unease, a silence that no customer could explain. And in the corners of the internet, rumors spread like wildfire. Someone dug up an old forum post on a buried military site. It spoke of a sniper from Ghost Viper, codename Arrow, who once hit a moving target from 400 meters in a storm. The description matched her scar, her hands, her silence. The whispers grew louder, and the shop that mocked her would never be the same again. Rachel didn't post a word about what had happened. She didn't replay the humiliation she had endured, or the sudden turn of fear and respect. She simply moved on her faded backpack over her shoulder, her sneakers carrying her to the next city, the next mission. She lived in silence because silence had always been her shield. She didn't need recognition. She didn't need apologies. The scar on her hand, the one that betrayed her identity, was just one of many. Each scar carried a story she never told. For her, that day in the gun shop was not about victory. It wasn't about revenge against those who mocked her. It was about remembering what she still carried inside: the discipline, the skill, the unshakable calm that had once defined her life in the shadows. She thought of the coins splitting in half at 150 meters. She thought of the faces frozen in shock, the laughter dying in their throats. And she thought of the commander's whisper, the mission that still awaited her. Rachel's life was never about proving herself to strangers. It was about serving something larger than herself. Her truth lived in the way she walked, the way she held a weapon, the way she entered a room and made the noise fall away. And though she would never say it out loud, she carried one truth like an invisible badge. Real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. The gun store faded behind her, but the ripple of that day spread far beyond its walls. People whispered in forums, passed around grainy clips, argued about who she really was. Some called her a myth, others swore she was flesh and blood. Rachel never corrected them. She never stepped forward to claim the story. She didn't need to. Legends aren't confirmed by those who live them. They're kept alive by the people who can't stop talking about them. In another town on another day, she would step quietly into a different room, a room where no one knew her name, no one guessed her history. She would be underestimated again. And again, she would carry the calm that disarmed arrogance faster than any weapon. Her life was made of quiet entrances and quieter exits. No fanfare, no applause, just the weight of truth carried in silence. And for every person who has ever been mocked, dismissed, or underestimated, Rachel's story isn't just hers. It belongs to you, too. The strength you carry may be invisible, but when the moment comes, it will speak louder than any insult ever could. If you followed her story until now, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to BR Veteran Stories, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave your thoughts below. Because every hidden veteran, every underestimated fighter deserves to be remembered. Her mission continues, and so does the story.